my cake and yours soft spoken.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I hope lunch was good. Thanks to Nukes for delivering it for us. Next we have Anthony, is it Bowden or Bowden?
You have eucalyptus.
Bowden. Oh, we have eucalyptus first. Oh, Kathy! We have eucalyptus. Okay, so we've got a eucalyptus Q&A with Kathy Allgood, with Dripping Springs Farm. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. Okay, so she's going to make this very informal. She doesn't have an official presentation for us, so we're just going to flood her with questions. And we are recording this.
She knows everything.
Kathy, we are recording this, so do you feel comfortable coming up?
No.
Okay. Would you like me to repeat the questions for our recordings?
I think I can. Oh, is that why you want me up there? So that.
A little bit.
You can do it.
You just switch you have it all set up in the right spot.
I do, but I can turn it around. It's fine.
I'm coming.
Okay.
I guess I will.
Thank you, Kathy. Yay, Kathy.
I can't reach that thing, you know.
Oh, here. There you go. Oh, that's perfect.
All right. My name is Kathy Allgood, and I own Dripping Springs Farm in Judsonia. And we have about a 3-acre farm. Our biggest crop, I'd have to say, probably now is eucalyptus. I think we have about 5,000 seedlings that are going to go in the ground this April. We grow them like annuals, but we are trying to perennialize some of them. So some of them I can bring back the next year, and some of them I can't. So, and that is still trial and error. Even if it says zone 7, sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't come back. But we grow a lot of other things too. And I think the question was asked earlier about how do you approach your florist if you don't have a lot to offer. Well, you have to grow a lot of certain things, and there's some things that we like to grow a lot so they know that they can get them from us. And if you don't grow a lot of sunflowers every week, they're going to order their sunflowers from their wholesaler because they have to have a steady supply of it. So if they know you're going to have something all season long, they're more likely to buy from you than their wholesalers. And eucalyptus is one thing that we want to grow a lot of. I'd like to dedicate a high tunnel to it one of these years, but we're not there yet. So right now, most of it's outside, and we cover it with frost cloth and straw in the wintertime, and a lot of it's come back. There's some varieties that I just cannot get to come back, like the lemon will not come back for me. And it's also a tricky grower. It likes the pests, and that's the only one that gives me trouble with pests. But they're easy to grow. They're easy to grow from seed. All of our eucalyptus is grown from seed. So, we have about, like I said, we probably have close to 5,000 seedlings out there right now. And they're going in and out of the greenhouse daily because we still get some really cold nights. And I know that they wouldn't survive a cold night, not even with frost cloth when they're seedlings, So we'll wait till probably mid-April, put them out, and then we'll start cutting them around the middle of June. They grow that fast when they get in the ground. They don't require any special treatment, and they certainly don't require special soil because they like it hot and dry, So if they get watered with everything else. We don't give them very much special treatment. Any of you guys can grow it. It's just, the hardest part about growing eucalyptus is when they're in the seedling stage, this big, and you can have them in your seed house, it's not letting them dry out. We bottom water all our flats. Our flats are like 200 cell flats, and we bottom water all of it, and they get bottom watered every day for 15 minutes a day, basically whether they need it or not. Because the next day, if you don't water them, you've got a few dried out and they'll get all crinkly leaves on them, well, they're shot. You might as well throw those away. And this is our first year where we haven't had any losses because I didn't take off and go down to the deer camp for a long time. I was able to take care of all the seedlings by myself, so I, gave them the care, and they do require special care when they're that size. So any of you guys that got seedlings and are bringing them home today, just don't overwater them because they're in a little bit bigger pot than mine are at the house. And you can put them outside right now. Don't plant them until your frost is clear. And the varieties that you got today, anybody who got the lemon, you probably won't be able to overwinter that one, but the rest of them are mostly zone 7, and you can probably do a pretty good job of overwintering them, unless you're further up north than me, I'd say Batesville on up. I don't think you guys would be able to overwinter eucalyptus unless you had it in pots inside of a greenhouse or something like that. But yes, ma'am.
Could I overwinter it if I covered them and if I cut it low and then?
Where are you from? Where are you at? Where? You're Bentonville South, isn't it?
No.
Northwest Arkansas.
I can't say for sure because I'm not up in that area,
But do you think if I covered it, it would have a better chance?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I cover mine. What I do is I cut it back to about that tall, and I put my hoops over it and put straw down, cover everything with straw, and then I double row cover, double the frost cloth over it, and I leave it all winter long. I don't take off the frost cloth during the warm days and put it back on. The eucalyptus stays covered all winter long.
Do you think it would be helpful to put Christmas lights in there just to kind of keep it a little bit warmer?
I don't think Christmas lights are very helpful at all. They're just a lot more work than they're worth, to be honest with you. If they're putting off that much heat, you don't need them on a Christmas tree. Because you catch your tree on fire. But that's just the way I feel. I mean, some people may feel differently, but I've got too much to mess with doing the Christmas lights. So, but it may work for you. I'm not saying it won't, but anyway, have you guys got any questions?
Can you talk a little bit about harvesting? I've only grown it a couple of times, and so I had this one and then some of this, and I didn't know if I was supposed to cut this or these, so tell me.
Depending on how long your little side shoots get, I usually I'll have this one stem and then I'll have some coming up like this and I'll cut that whole stem. I usually don't have it to where it's coming out all over the place. When it grows up tall, you're gonna have these side shoots and and you can cut each one of them if they get long enough,
So you're cutting it before it gets that tall. How tall?
It's probably up to my knees, right there.
Yeah.
When I start cutting it,
And then you're cutting it.
I cut it down about that tall and let it grow right back out
And it'll
again.
grow,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it growing out. And usually, the sign area, the stuff that looks like silver dollar, and then the baby blue, that takes a little bit longer to grow out. But when you're looking at the kind that the parviflora and the parvula, the willow, the ones that have the smaller leaf, they grow so fast that before you turn around, they're ready to cut again. And when the season starts off for me, they may be ankle or shin high, and they're up to my waist in 2-3 weeks.
Will you repeat the fast-growing varieties you just
Fast growing varieties would be parviflora, parvula, and what else did I say? Willow, which is everybody had a bad seed crop on willow, the peppermint willow. You won't find that anywhere. I haven't even been able to find it, but the polyanthemos is the one that everybody uses for weddings. It's everybody says it's blue dollar, silver dollar, but it's really something like a plate, you know, it's flat leaf, but it's basically what's used in wedding bouquets and stuff. That one's not very hardy for me, but it kind of iffy. Some of it will come back, some of it won't, you know. There's a lot of them I want to put in the high tunnel when time comes, but I'm not to that point yet, so. But your parviflora, that's the most hardiest. I have let that go without any cover before at all, and it came back.
What does it look like?
It doesn't look like eucalyptus, but it smells like it, you know. It's got long, narrow leaves on it, and it's just a really pretty wispy green leaf stem.
Will you repeat the name of that hardy one?
I'm gonna forget it, parviflora.
That is gorgeous.
Did you look it up?
Yes.
There's a new one that we're growing this year called Robustus. Somebody got that one. And it's a hardy eucalyptus down to zone 7. And it's the first year that we've grown it. It's the first year I've actually found true seeds for it. Last year I thought I was growing it and I had something else that wasn't Robusta. But we did find seed this year. And we've got like 3 flats of it to go out on the ground. I've actually had requests for that one from florists. And Kathy's the one that's got the seedlings to that one. It grows fast.
Do you fertilize it at all?
Never. I do not fertilize the
I mean, it's
eucalyptus.
beautiful, it's green.
And now,
It's so
sometimes when I'm running fertilizer through the drip lines, it may get hit with it, but most of the time I turn off those drip lines to the eucalyptus. I don't mess with it.
not much water and they like it hot.
They do like it hot. Mine have always gotten water the same time everything else does, so especially when you first put them in the ground, you do not want to let them dry out, because until they're established, they're gonna need a little extra. That's along with everything else though, you know. And I would not use drip line on them until they're established. I would use sprinkler on them, because the sprinkler just puts out a lot more water than a drip line does.
Where do you find the
Parviflora,
where do you find the seeds?
It's been a long time since I've had to purchase seeds for Parviflora.
I think we just got some from Geo.
Do you save the seeds?
I don't ever let it get big enough to produce seeds. I've never been able to, I've never grown enough of it where I had enough to supply everybody with, so it's always been cut down before. And it has to be super big to
So you don't
produce.
have to buy seeds?
I have to buy seeds every year.
Oh,
Is that what you meant?
yeah.
I thought you meant, does it produce seeds?
Oh, no.
No. Did you ask where I got the seeds in?
Yeah.
I said I wasn't sure on the Parviflora because it's been 3 years since I've grown any from seed. Mine are all perennialized.
Yours are all perennial.
Right, and half of a row puts off a ton because they grow so fast, you know, so I don't feel like I need any more of that particular one. I'm always having to plant more of the Cinerea, which is the silver dollar one. Florists like, some florists I have like a eucalyptus that looks like eucalyptus, you know. And they said nothing else looks like a eucalyptus unless it's the silver dollar or the baby blue or the florist blue, you know. But I have other florists that like all of it, you know. And I will tell you one thing, that wholesale eucalyptus has almost no fragrance at all compared to ours. You know, it just, I have florists tell me that constantly. Yours is so much stronger scented than, well, I've seen the wholesale eucalyptus before and it looks like it's already dry when they get it. And so maybe that's why, I don't know, but anyway, we can't grow enough of it. I think we grew like 2,500 seedlings out last year, and my plants were like that tall all year long because I cut them all year long, and I didn't have enough, so that's why we're planting more this year. But
Are you selling it only to florists or?
we are wholesale, flower farm, and this year I did take on a couple of farm stores where I'm supplying them with some bouquets, which I don't normally do. And I will not turn down somebody if they call me and say, would you make me a bouquet? But I won't deliver and I don't do CSAs, and I don't advertise that I do bouquets, you know, because you wanna be there for the florist, and it's hard to do both, you know. Yes, ma'am.
So when you overwinter them, do they retain their leathery?
Most of the time I cut them back in the spring, cut all this stuff back, cause it's brown and nasty.
Okay, so over winter they do become brown and dry.
Yeah.
And so, because we've got some bookleaf mallee and we've ordered some other kinds, but the plants we got out there, they were just gorgeously delicious in the fall, and over the winter they
Dry,
just brown,
brownish.
dry.
We do
So
have
how-
them, but we didn't
Right, we
straw.
put it.
You need to cut them back in the spring,
So
just
how,
leave them be.
12 inches, I mean, how far from the ground? do we
However-
cut them back?
However tall your hoops are, that's fine, you know, just, if you have the real tall hoops, you don't have to cut them back so much, and mine are shorter hoops, so I have to cut mine back a little bit more.
So
you
even
know.
though they're brown and dry,
Yeah,
they
leave
will
that-
revive
I would leave
themselves?
it there and just cut it all back in the spring, you know. My silver dollar was pretty much full plants when I covered them in the fall,
Yeah.
and we just left it, and I have looked under there, and they're still green, you know, but they're tarnished kinda, you know, spots, they don't look very good, so we'll cut all that off in the spring where we'll have nothing left but a stick, you know, but, they'll come back out.
So you cut them pretty close to the ground?
We do, we usually come about like that, you know.
Do you leave any foliage on them when you cut them?
Not usually, but like I said, I did leave all the foliage on the silver dollar this time, you know, when we covered. Covering this last spring, this last fall was a fast job, and I've been getting over a heart attack, you know, at that time, so we just went out there and threw straw down and doubled the row covered and called it done. Left them, you know, so, but they're still looking good, you know, so. There's one row we didn't cover at all, we'll see how it does. But it's okay because we grow them like annuals, you know. We're happy if they overwinter, but we're prepared to grow them again, you know, just like everything else, you know.
How far apart do these plants?
Close together, because they're not trees for us, you know. We plant them less than 10 inches, you know, they're never gonna grow into trees, except for my parviflora, yeah, their stems are that big around, which I didn't expect them to be that big around, but, you know, I try to keep them cut down so they won't grow any bigger, but I didn't expect them to get that big that fast, but they probably needed a little more space.
How
Yes,
big
ma'am.
do you let them get before you put them in the ground?
Whatever size they are, when it's time for me to plant them is when they go in the ground. I have some that are this tall right now, and then we have some, you know, a little tiny. They'll all go in the ground when I'm ready to put them, you know, and I have some seedlings in the seed house right now that are just half inches, you know, I won't put those out, but, cause we have a second crop coming along. We have 5 more flats in the seed house right now that we're growing in. Bookleaf mallee is one of the ones we're growing. That's the slowest one I have ever seen. I'm just like,
That's encouraging.
That's the other one we've grown, so.
I'm thinking, I just don't know why I grew that one.
It's very pretty.
Yes, it-
Last year I grew silver dust, lemon bush, and baby blue, and they did terrible, and I gave up and decided never to do eucalyptus again. And then I saw your post in the group, and I was blown away. I just assumed like maybe they just don't do well here. So are those 3 varieties? Are they slow
Silver dust,
growing?
is that like the Cineria?
I don't know.
Is that the silver dollar?
Does it look
So-
like eucalyptus?
Well, yeah, yeah.
Cause I've not heard one called silver dust. Not even heard a nickname called silver dust before.
I just pulled up my order from last year to look because I was curious what I grew.
Well, it's probably misnamed, cause
What's the Latin name on it?
there's a lot of eucalyptus suppliers don't call it the right name, you know. I mean, the silver dollar is actually also polyanthemos, which is also called silver
Oh,
dollar.
I'm sorry, that was Dusty Miller.
That's what I was gonna say.
Dusty Miller color has to go all season for me before I
Just
cut
keep
it.
them on your toes.
So-
Okay.
That's a different
The
color.
lemon bush and the baby blue, are those like slow growers? Or was I just terrible at it?
Baby blue, I cut the same time as the Cyneria, which is the silver dollar. And in fact, it grows right along beside of it, and I start cutting it when it's probably about 25 inches tall or so. You know, you never got it that tall?
No, it got about that tall, and I was able to cut enough, like one time, and then it just,
Mm.
it was underwhelming.
Lemon is a little bit more difficult one to grow. It grows a little bit longer before I cut it, and it tends to, the tops tend to wilt down a little bit. You have to, that's why I let it grow out a little bit longer, because it's one of the ones that needs to be more firmer, steadier cutting before it will hold up good in it. But my florists, they absolutely love it. You know, they
And I
love
had
it.
it in raised beds, I don't know if that would make a difference.
Well, I don't think that would, you know. It's just hard to say unless I was there, you know. Mine are in the ground, they're on a drip line, you know.
I had 5 plants that made it last year out of the big old tray I did. And I had one that was really good and pretty, and then I had one that was like stunted, like it just kind of stayed that same, and they were right beside each other. But I don't know, I can't tell you why I did it, but I just couldn't see the two, and I was like, well.
Right beside each
One
other,
was
same
happy,
variety.
one wasn't.
Same variety.
Yes, I have to look at what it was, but, so. I
Had to
don't
been
know.
something in the soil, you know, or, you know, that would have caused something like that. That's the only thing I could think of, you know. Who's next? Daisy?
Yeah, excuse me, what time of year do you typically, I know when they're ready, but like what time of year do you typically start harvesting? Are you able to start harvesting?
Well, our first bouquet class is usually in June 10th,
Uh-huh,
and I usually have 5 or 6 buckets for that class.
okay.
That's the first time I've cut it
Uh-huh.
in the season. Plant it
You
usually
start.
April 15th, and I'm cutting June. By that time, I have enough eucalyptus ready to cut.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You started before Christmas?
Yes, I did. Just because I like to grow it. I don't recommend it, you know, because it's a lot of care, you know, and you have to be there every day to water it, you know. But I have fun growing it from seed. I really do. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I have 2 questions. One's about harvesting and one's about selling them.
Okay.
The harvesting, when you cut the stems, are you cutting all the way down to the main stem when you're doing the side ones? And
Yes.
the main stems, are you cutting all the way down to the ground? Okay.
Yes.
And when you're
Not to the
selling-
ground. Usually about 6 or 7 inches
Okay, so
from the
you're
ground.
leaving-
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm leaving some for it to go back.
And then when you are selling them, how many in a bunch and for what price have you been able
Depends
to-
on the variety. Anywhere from 10 is in a bundle. I get anywhere from $10 a bundle all the way up to $13 a bundle. You know, and if they're wrapped for somebody, I'll usually get 15 to 20 for retail. You know, usually 20 for retail on a bundle of 10. So
How long are the stems that you're cutting?
not as long as the wholesaler supplies. You know, when they get them, they're probably all the way up here.
Yeah.
They're tall, but they don't use it. You know, they use the top, that much of it, you know, so it's okay that they get the shorter stems because everything they're gonna use is, you know, right there on the top, and
So like 16, 18, 20?
they're sticking out of a 5-gallon bucket, probably 10 inches.
Okay.
So they're still tall, you
Yeah.
know, and some of them stick out of a 2-gallon bucket from 10 or 12 inches, you know. They're plenty enough tall. I've never gotten any complaints about the length of, you know. Very first year I flower farmed, everybody was all about length. Do not bring this stuff in my shop because it's too short. I mean, that's
What year was that?
5 years ago. About 5 years ago. I grew a couple years before that for just a couple of florists. Those florists have florists have helped mold me into what I am today, because they're more than just florists. Those two are considered very good friends, and, you know, they told me what they want and how to grow it and how long the stems they want, and, you know, they don't mind telling me what's on their mind either, you know, trust me. Not all of them are like that though, you know. But, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have another question.
You go right ahead.
Okay, so when you approached the florists about selling them the bunches, did you have any kind of contract or anything with them, or you just said, okay, handshake, you're gonna buy them from me, I'll let you know what I've got available?
It's a weekly thing,
Okay,
and they're not devoted to me,
okay,
you know. They'll buy from other florists, you know, and it's okay that they do that,
I like
you know.
them,
Yeah.
I like that.
But it's a weekly thing. I send out a list every week, and in the very beginning of the year, I'll throw it all in the van and take it all out to each florist and let them shop. They do like to do that, but I won't do that when it gets hot. And I don't like them to depend on me at the same time. Honestly, the 3-acre farm we run, and there's only 3 of us, it's very hard for me to do deliveries. And I don't like them to be dependent on me every day, every week at a certain time, and they're not, and they still are okay with it, you know. Just as long as you get there, they don't care when I get there, you know. So, anybody else? Oh, come on, I know y'all got questions about eucalyptus. Yes, sir.
Are you planting the seedlings here in the ground April 15th?
Sometimes before then, yes.
Does the ground temperature have to be a certain temperature before you plant them?
It has to be frost free. You know, you can't put them in the ground until frosts are over. And I think my area has changed to April 1st,
Okay,
which is kind of pushing it.
Where is that?
Jetsonia.
Oh.
And I probably won't do that. You know, I'm kind of a little scared of that because I think we still have a frost coming in April, you know.
What county is that?
White County,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, Jetsonia. I know
About
where it is.
15 minutes north of Searcy.
Yes, it is. It's up there. White County.
Hey, Kathy, tell me just, how do you start your seeds? I mean, tell me.
When I have a seed mix that I've made up for years. We use that seed mix and I just fill the flats and I don't have any fancy way of doing it. I even make the little indentions in the soil with my fingers. I'll go down there and, you know, I don't use a dibbler like some people do, you know, but I'll drop my seed in there and cover it with vermiculite, and I bottom soak the flats for about 2 hours for the very initial first time, and they don't get as much water at that time until they start germinating, you know. When they've germinated, and I don't think I've had, the longest it took me to germinate some was the lemon, and it took about 10 days, but usually it's 3 or 4 days and they're up, you know. And we'll bottom water every day for 15 minutes. And I don't miss a day, because if I do, the next day if I have any wilted, you can might as well pull them and throw them, you know, because they're not gonna make it through it, you know. Especially if they're real crispy.
What's in your soil mix?
My soil mix is peat and perlite, feather meal, or any other type of organic fertilizer. Usually whatever I can get my hands on. You know, right now I'm using feather meal. I use azomite. It's a mineral, and depending on if I'm doing vegetables or flowers, sometimes I put a little lime in there for produce, you know, seedlings, but most of the time I don't. And I think that's all I put in there, pretty much mix it all in. And I have a recipe, but I tend to not stick with it, you know. I'm not always mixing the same amount every time, so, you know, but that's my basic mix, you know.
So Kathy, do you think it's too late to start them now? You started
No,
this
it's not
since-
too late to start them now. I have some that just germinated.
How long do they need to, like, how long do they need before you can put them in the ground? Like, if we put them April 15th, what's the latest I could start?
Well, you'll need to harden them off really good. Couple hours a day outside, and that's the fun thing about hardening off at this time of year. It's not really ferociously hot, so they can take more of the heat outside, you know, and maybe when they're about 1.5 inches, you know, I like them to have a little bit of height, you know. I don't want to put a 1/2 inch plant in the ground because I have so much to take care of. I'm gonna forget to water that, and I'm gonna kill it, you know. And that's usually the way it is. So I gotta have stuff with a little substance to it to put in the ground. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible to plant them out before then if you have them under hoops?
I wouldn't do the eucalyptus. I would consider them a warm weather crop until they've gone through the season, you know. If you're not gonna put zinnias and sloes out on the ground, I would not put them out either, you know. You spent so much time taking good care of them, don't wanna, you know.
Is it possible to harvest your own seed from any of the varieties?
I've never even seen them flower, you know. Of course, I can't grow enough to let them get big enough, and I'm only 5 foot. I don't think I want to cut anything taller than 5 foot, you know. There are some things I've had to get a ladder to cut on, you know, but I don't know, you know. Yes, ma'am.
Spacing, when you're planting them, how close together?
Well, I'm probably the queen of planting close together, so that means everything I can cram together in a small space, I'm gonna grow it close together.
Do you plant them in a flat? Is that how
You mean in the, when I'm going seed out?
Yes.
They're in a 220 flat, yes.
Okay.
Means there's 220 cells in that flat.
Okay.
Anybody
You
else?
need to keep these watered, right?
I wouldn't overwater them because the pot's bigger than the roots right now, and you could make them rot out. And
Okay.
so let them dry out a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
Do you use any kind of landscape fabric?
That's all we use. Everything we have in the ground has got landscape fabric. I have a couple of no-till flower beds that,
So your holes are, what, 4 inches, 3 inches?
you know the can of beans that you buy in the grocery store?
Yeah.
That's how big it is. That's how big my burner is. That's what my burner is.
Okay, and those are 3 or 4 inches apart?
About 3, no, you mean the plants? They're probably 10,
10 inches apart?
maybe even less than that, could be 8, you know. I don't measure when I burn my holes. And most of the time my son's doing it, so there's no telling, you know. And I'll say, you're too close, well, it's too late now, Mom, you know, that sort of thing. So we put them in the ground anyway. Did you have a question? Huh?
I said, I bet you're a good cook. The best cooks don't measure, they just know what to sprinkle in.
I've been told I was.
Well, you see what she posts on Facebook. Okay, I got one more.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one more, okay, I have a bunch of
One at a time.
At what point, so you're saying when you start the seeds, you're doing bottom water 15 minutes every day. At what point do you stop doing bottom water every day to reach the point where you're not overwatering?
I don't think you can overwater at 15 minutes a day.
Okay. So just do
Now,
15 minutes a day. 15
Yeah,
minutes.
if you're doing an hour a day, you're liable to have some edema break out on the plants, and it kind of looks like a cluster of aphids on there, but it's not. It's the plant has nowhere to put that water, so the leaves are busting out basically, and you know that's something that'll grow out of. But that's what it does when you get too much water in it. And I do get that every once in a while because sometimes I forget and leave them in the water too long. You know, I can't imagine somebody doing that. It gets done quite often, but they survived it. You know, my point is don't underwater them when they're seedlings because you're gonna lose them. You know, and that was my problem in the past years. Is when I lost them is because they didn't get enough water. You know. So, anybody else?
Do you
Okay,
still-
yeah, I'm ready.
Do you need the light?
No, I'm good. Okay. So, I'm Kristen. I talk a lot. So you're gonna have to like stop me if I get off topic. So I put this presentation together, but I did not do it by myself. Kate Myers helped me a lot. She had already done a whole lot of research on this. And then my dear friend and farm assistant, Erin Parker, helped me a ton. She's incredible at crunching numbers and coming up with ideas out of left field. So thank you both so very, very, very much. When I started getting into flower farming, a collective has always been like my end goal. That's always where I've wanted to go. My sole purpose in growing flowers is to make the floral industry in our state less dependent on imports. The impact that it has on the environment just absolutely blows my mind for stuff that we can just grow in our backyard. So, here's a little bit about me. I'm not going to read it. I started growing, and I did a farmer's market one summer. I did 2 markets. I did the one in Morrilton and I did downtown Conway. And I made like, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 for that whole entire summer, but I spent, like $10,000. And I was like, oh, well, maybe this is just not really that good of an idea. And then in 2022, I came to I guess it was the second meeting, not the first, of this group. It was at Crystal's in Dardanelle, and she had Gina Taverner, I don't know how to say her name, who is the owner of Vase and Vine in Clarksville there, and that woman changed my life. So, we were asking her questions, and from a florist perspective, how does this work, and what do y'all need? And I posted a picture of 30 bunches of tulips in my refrigerator in my kitchen, like on Facebook, and was like, haha, look what I'm doing. And she sent me a message that was like, can I just buy all of those? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And so I was like, oh, I guess I'll be selling to florists now. Because that's so much easier to me than making bouquets and sitting at a farmer's market for basically no dollars or negative dollars. So by the end of the first season, selling exclusively to florists, which was not this past year, but the year before, I'd made $20,000 in revenue. Now, it's still not a profit, don't get me wrong. But then this past year, I was able to double that. And I think our goal for this year is 80. Yeah. So, you learn a little bit more about planning and like how to do things and how to execute things, and you get to be a little bit more dependable on making sure you get your stuff in the ground, making sure you're consistently cutting. I cut on Sundays, I cut on Wednesdays, I deliver on Mondays, I deliver on Thursdays. Like, I have a group of florists I go to on Monday, they expect me to be there. I have a group that I go to on Thursday. If I'm 10 minutes late, they call me and ask where I am. So, the florists in our state are very hungry for our product. It is far superior to anything that they can get from a wholesaler. So I know that we have the demand for a collective. I want to talk a little bit about what a collective is exactly. So a collective is a group of growers that sort of pool resources to increase opportunities for everybody. As opposed to a cooperative, which is more of like a legal structure, like a legal business structure. It's a specific thing. It requires that you have a board, and you have board meetings every so often, and voting, and it's a lot. So I think a collective would work really well for us. It would be more like a person runs it, and then that would be a person that we hired to run it, and they would make the decisions, as opposed to everybody going, oh, this, no, that. And they would listen to the input from everybody and sort of analyze the business, look at numbers, see where
things are headed and what different decisions could do for us. I'm very, very big into collectives and how they meet our needs as growers. So I came up with a bunch of different complaints that I've had and that I've heard other people have or seen other people post about. I talked to several people the last couple of months about, like, what are your obstacles, what's going on. A lot of it was inconsistent source of revenue as an obstacle for why, if you want to farm full-time, why are you not doing it full-time? Because it's inconsistent. Some weeks you have customers that want $2,500 worth of stuff for an event, and then the next week nobody wants anything. So that's a huge problem. And then there are things like, well, I have to grow such a variety of things that I never have enough of one thing for what they want for these big events. That's a huge one for me. Also, customers don't always have enough business to support me. So like in July, when they get really, really slow, if you are just solely depending on them, they're gonna do what's easier for them. And so you gotta be able to be consistent. You gotta be able to have what they want when they want it. And that's really hard to do all by yourself. And then some people are like, I don't know how to approach a florist. I don't know how to go sell my stuff. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to talk to. And that's a big obstacle too. And I think that together we make a bigger impact. So when you pull your resources, you have the opportunity to have a larger customer base because you're able to provide quantities of things that you couldn't produce on your own. A larger customer base creates more opportunities, which would even out your sales, like, averages across the season, to where if 1 week somebody's not buying or nobody's buying anything, it's okay. Like, you're still going to have stuff the next week, or you're going to have a little bit that week, enough to make up for, or a lot 1 week and make up for it. It helps you to be consistent when you're working as a team. Say something happens, you have a heart attack, or your grandfather passes away, or you have some other medical issue. I'm on the wrong slide, but you've got other people to back you up. There's somebody there that will be able to fill that order for your customer. You won't lose that customer because they see you as flaky, or they see you as somebody that doesn't show up every week. Because when we're all together, like, somebody will have it. Somebody can show up. That increases our leverage with our buyers. It also stops them from pitting us against each other. I bump into Gary all the time. And it's like, we'll be like, well, what are you selling him? Oh, well, what are you selling him? And that's a very nerve-wracking situation where it feels like you're going, toe-to-toe with each other, when really, if the United States, we're selling $9 billion worth of cut flowers, there should be enough space for all of us. Like, that's a ton of money. Y'all know that? $9 billion, and 80% it imports. 80%. Kills me. That's why I started.
There's enough, because there's enough for all the florists to do good on Valentine's Day, and Walmart sells out too.
Right. There's plenty. There is plenty of business. Plenty of people want flowers. Flowers make people happy. Another one of the issues, I guess I didn't put it on that slide. Oh, I worked so hard on this, and it is still disorganized. I'm so sorry. Anyway.
Just in light of that, I wanted to say there was just a Washington Post article that I didn't read because of the paywall, but it's why giving roses on Valentine's Day or any other day, I don't know what the rest is a really bad idea. And it's all about, it gives all those facts you're talking about of the carbon footprint And it doesn't even
environmental impact.
touch on how horribly abusive the people who are harvesting those flowers are treated and all the chemicals.
And how they don't smell good because
Right.
they're not grown naturally. They're, yeah.
But that was just out this week, so.
Yeah. I saw another really interesting article, but I think I might have put it in here, but maybe not.
What was that you just mentioned?
It's a Washington Post article this week that was, I'll post it on the Flower Farmers page.
Yeah, do. Okay. Another problem is that we don't have time. Like, I'm one person. I have 2 broken ankles. I fell off a ladder 7 years ago. It's bad. There's not enough time in the week to start all the seeds that you have to start to be consistent, put all the plants that you have to put in the ground, do all of the weeding, do all of the cutting, do all of the conditioning. Oh God, if you're making bouquets, I don't even want to know, like, do you ever see your family? Like, I mean, I couldn't possibly add anything on to what I already do. And then I have to put it all in a van and drive around from florist to florist and be like, hey, we buy my stuff. And they're all like, I love your stuff, it's so great. But still, every single week I will get in the van with my mother and we will look at each other and say, there's no way this is gonna work. Nobody's gonna buy this stuff, this is crazy, what are we doing? But you know, we've been doing it for 2 years and it's still working, so blows my mind a little. Okay, the second problem is the high operating costs. So in order to be consistent or to grow more, you have to have more. And to do that, you have to buy more seeds or buy more bulbs or more tubers or whatever. Well, y'all, if we all like go in together and buy that stuff, we get it for way less money. And we save on shipping because we're only paying for shipping once. We happen to live, you know, in a state where every corner of the state is 2.5 hours away. Like, there's no way you're driving more than that to get to Little Rock. Or, you know, we can do 2 drop-offs or whatever. We'll work it out. The other thing it gives us is so increased efficiency, large bulb orders. Oh, an opportunity to capitalize on a niche, I don't know. So like Kathy is the queen of eucalyptus.
What?
You're queen of eucalyptus. And Gary is the king of peonies. And y'all, the more you can grow of one crop, the better you get at growing that crop. The better you get at growing that crop, the more desirable it is. If we're not all growing 30 different varieties of things, then we all benefit from that. It's specialization in trade is the economic principle behind it. It's like the reason that not every country builds iPhones. You know, you get really good at one thing, doing it over and over again. And I'm not saying let's all just grow one crop. What I'm saying is, you know, it gives us the opportunity to, if we want to, trim down, grow more of one thing, put that one thing out. Our highest sellers, ranunculus, lisianthus, anemones, dahlias. The software, has anybody heard of Rooted Farmers? Okay, so Rooted Farmers is a website that was designed by Amelia Ilo. She was a flower farmer. Her little boy got sick. They were in a hospital in Boston, and she just had a flower truck that she just drove around. And her little boy said, Mom, why don't you drive your truck to Boston? And she was like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. This child is brilliant. So she did that one week, and then she realized she did not have enough flowers to sell in Boston. Like, she's like, I can't grow enough. So she got together with a couple of other growers in her area and said, hey, let's load everything in my big giant truck and let's go to Boston. And they sold out every week, and that's how she started her collective. Well, then they stumbled upon, we don't know what's selling best. We don't know where our money's going. We don't know really what's going on. We don't have any way of analyzing our business. We just know that this is working. So they got together with a I don't know, internet guy and developed this website that was specifically focused on helping small flower farmers grow and sell their crops. It analyzes your business for you. It keeps up with your records for you on a lot of things, which is really important, keeping records. I know it's hard, and I know that it takes a lot of time, and that when you're in the moment, it's like, I'll write it down later, or I can't stop right now, but it is so important. I'm a math nerd. I like math. I do a lot of math. I do a lot of business analysis. This is going really poorly. Okay. The other thing is disorganization. That's about the record keeping and isolation. I feel like I'm alone. So I'm in Morrilton, which is, I've got a couple of you guys in Clarksville, but that's still an hour away. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 people in Dardanelle, Russellville, but they're not really super very active. I'm an hour away from Little Rock. I feel like I'm on this island by myself. But if we had this collective, it would give us an opportunity for most of us to see each other or talk to each other like almost every week. And then we would have more chances to talk about the things like, oh, I'm having this issue. What do you do about this? It creates this sense of community. It makes you feel like you have support, like there are people that have your back. And that's priceless, guys. That's priceless. Y'all are all going to be able to access this PowerPoint, by the way. We're going to post it. Or we're emailing it to everybody that, yeah, that's what it is. Okay. I didn't go over everything, but a collective will give us more access. It broadens our customer base, right? So I go to 22 different florists. Kathy, you go to 11 florists. Gary, what do you do? Oh, he doesn't do florists anymore. Anybody else?
10.
Huh?
10.
10. Okay. Well, I don't think Kathy and I overlap any. I don't think you and I would overlap any. So that's 40 customers right there that the rest of you guys don't have access to right now. I mean, how much better off would your business be if you had access to 40 customers that use flowers every single week, every day? It also gives me access to more customers. And then the bigger it builds, the florists start talking to each other. We're doing articles in bridal magazines. We're able to supply for events. We're able to do things like that. It also lowers burnout because we'll have more time to do things because we won't be running around delivering stuff for 20 hours a week. This is just a graphic that I stole from the Collectives 101 class from the Gardener's Workshop. I want to give them credit for it, but the whole thing wouldn't fit on the screen, so I stole it. So it kind of shows how segmented small farmers can be. And if you've got one person going to 5 or 6 different places and another person going to 5 or 6 different places, when they're overlapping, that's taking time away from the customer because they're having to stop what they're doing more than one time. And it's wasting gas and resources and time for the farmers also. A collective can build more connections than an individual person can. I can't keep up with 22 florists. I can't. I've tried. It's hard. But a collective, if one person's entire job is sell all of these flowers that we've all grown, that person can make connections because they're not out in the field. They're not out doing bouquets. They're not going to the farmer's market because you still have to go with your other outlets too. This is not gonna be, 100% of everything you sell. It's gonna go through the collective. You can still do your farmers markets and your weddings and your CSAs and other things. But it allows us to delegate those nitpicky tasks like record keeping and order fulfillment and sales phone calls. Delegate those to somebody else instead of having to do those all yourself, which gives you more time to grow more stuff, which helps us to meet closer to the demand of the florists in the state. So the closer we get to meeting their demand, the less they're using imports, the less shipping, the lower the environmental. It's full circle. Okay. Numbers. I'm a nerd. So the top corner is my personal weekly sales from last season. Usually I go through week 44, but my season was cut short because the first week of July my grandfather passed away. So nothing got planted. So, and actually the last 2 weeks I had sunflowers, but I didn't have anything else to sell with them. The zinnias all had powdery mildew, and the marigolds were, long, spindly stems, and they break, and it was just not good. So, but like you can see what I'm talking about, the inconsistency. So, on those weeks where I didn't sell very much, I still had the same amount of stuff to sell. I just didn't have anybody to sell it to. But if I'd had a bigger customer base, I would have had somebody to sell it to. I wouldn't have had that leftover stuff. That wouldn't have gone in the compost. Not that I mind composting things. I just don't like composting, dollars. I'd prefer to put those in the bank. I wanted to talk specifically about sunflowers because, like I told y'all earlier, that's how I calculate the cost of things. Like, we're gonna go to Disney World. Well, that's 8,000 sunflowers, y'all. And I learned that from Lisa Ziegler, who says that her tractor cost her 24,000 sunflowers. Which, I think that's worth it. So, I had those 2 weeks, 27 and 29, 28 and 30, whatever weeks they are. That's the 4th of July, and then 2 weeks later. I don't deliver on those weeks. I don't do things on those weeks. I take those weeks to myself to replant everything for the fall. Now this year those weeks were spent mourning my grandfather, but I did have a little bit of sales those weeks because I had people that called me and said, oh my God, where are you? I need my sunflowers, I need my zinnias, I need my celosia, like I can't do it without it. And so I let those people come by the farm and pick up. I generally do not do that because it's like my house and I just don't like people being there except for like people that I know. Y'all are welcome. But I don't want my customers coming because my yard's a mess. Week 24, see that dip in sales? Y'all, the rabbits ate my seedlings. Little butts.
rabbits up there.
Oh my gosh. And that'll kill you.
Stupid rabbits.
I mean, that cost me, those rabbits ate $150. That's bad. But like, somebody else could have sold those $150 worth of sunflowers. Like, my customers still needed them. They just didn't get them. Weeks 32 through 41, what I discovered there was that planting 400 sunflowers every single week was not enough to supply my 22 florists with sunflowers. It wasn't enough. I could have sold 600 or 700 stems at that point in the year.
Wow.
Pretty easily, if I could have fit it in the van and if I'd had it. And then weeks 42 through 44, like I said, I didn't have anything growing that was really worth selling. other than sunflowers. And yeah, I could have put the sunflowers in the van and driven them around, but it would have cost me more in time and gas to do that than I would have gotten from the sunflowers. So I'd rather, not do that. So I've talked about it from our perspective, sporadically bouncing around. But I want to talk about it from a customer perspective. Florists have problems too. And there are reasons that florists don't buy from farmers. They don't know if they can count on us. It takes a bajillion years to make 15 different phone calls to 15 different florists to see if anybody has enough of what they need. If nobody has exactly what they need, they've got to order some from me, some from you, some from you. And that's annoying to have to keep up with. And it takes time, and time is every time somebody comes to deliver something, they've got to stop what they're doing. They know that the products are way higher quality, but sometimes they don't like that they're more expensive. That's just a marketing issue. Because yeah, we do maybe charge more per stem sometimes. They don't have to buy as many stems when they buy our products because more of our stuff is usable. That's something you can tell your florist if you don't know what to tell them. Be like, well, I'm not going to sell you a stem you can't use. You don't have to throw these in the trash. You're not getting a bunch of 10 and only being able to use 6. You're getting a bunch of 10, you can use 10. They like the unique varieties that we can grow that they can't have shipped in. So that's an area that we could really capitalize and get and then there was one florist who buys from lots of local farmers, and what he said was a lot of the farmers, when he looks them up, are too far away. They don't deliver to him, and he's not willing to drive that far, which is reasonable. If you can get it delivered to you, why would you drive 2 hours to go get it? So what they need is a reliable source of flowers. They need us to support them using their time more efficiently. They want access to more growers. They want fewer wasted stems. They want to continue getting unique products. They want competitive prices with the wholesalers. And they want to be able to be part of our community and support us also. I'm getting this information from my customers. So those are the things that we can give them: access, volume, efficiency, and variety. And y'all, the other thing that they get from us that's huge that I've noticed is this. So this is a horrible picture of me and a horrible picture of my mother, but that was us dropping off an order at Tenera once, and she was like, oh my gosh, can I snap a picture of y'all so I can put it on Instagram? Because they want to be able to say, we support local farmers. We're doing local, blah. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you want to be able to say that, but are you? And, they do, but I can't grow enough to meet. Think about the size of her events. Okay, so my whole example of all of my numbers are going to be based on one request from Tenera. Oh, that's another graphic that I stole from the class, but it's cute. And then this quote I got from the Connecticut Flower Collective out of Kate's notes. We may not be able to offer them 100% guarantee of a product they can order from a conventional wholesaler a month in advance, but they feel a closer connection and a camaraderie with us, not to mention the fact that we have fostered their trust through the quality of our products, and that makes them ask us first. Y'all, can you imagine a world where a florist wakes up and calls a farmer before she calls the wholesaler? That is my dream. That's my dream. Okay, so numbers. Those are my queen zinnias, and I love them. They are terrible cut flowers. They go brown. They do not last very long. They're fine for events. Okay. here's my hypothetical situation on which all of my numbers are going to be based. A designer needs yarrow for an event. She called me and she said, I need 120 bunches of yarrow next week. Can you do that? Can any of you guys bring 120 bunches of yarrow? Okay, Gary can bring 120 bunches of yarrow. Anybody else? What's your limit, Gary? How much yarrow could you bring me?
I've never pushed it.
Really? It's one of my biggest sellers.
No, I just keep the cooler full and empty the cooler. It's a vicious cycle.
Okay. Well, I did not.
And I have a problem not having enough peonies.
Not having enough what?
Peonies.
Peonies. Oh my God. My peonies right now are dried up in a basket sitting inside my shop.
Let me have them, I'll take care of them.
No, I want to put them. I just don't know where to put them. Okay. She called and said she needed 120 bunches of yarrow. But y'all, do you know what she really needed? Was like 60 bunches of yarrow. Because when she buys yarrow from a wholesaler, she throws more than half of it away. Because it is so dehydrated, it is so floppy, the colors are faded, it just does not do what she wants it to do. But anyway, my hypothetical situation, she has 3 options. She can go to a wholesaler, she can call a whole bunch of us different people, or Gary. Or if we formed a collective, she would be able to call a collective. And that's just one phone call instead of, 10. These pictures that work was done by Joe at Kathy's in Russellville. And it's got my zinnias and some mountain mint and some astilbe and some yarrow and I don't know, lots of things. Wildflower weddings are a whole trend right now. Okay. So here's our thought process. If I go to wholesale, I know I have access. I know that they have the volume I need. I'm not so thrilled about the quality because I'm going to have to throw half of it away. And I hate spending money on things I'm going to throw away. And then in the very end, the end product, it's good enough, but it's not exactly what I'm going for in my design. I can go to local growers. They may have the availability. I don't know if it's available this time of year or not. Customer education is a whole other thing. It's going to require a lot of effort for me to find out if they have as much as I need. So it's really high quality. I'm really happy about that. There's less waste. That makes me happy. The end product is excellent. It's incredible, right? Way better. But it's all the effort and time that it takes to gather that product that stops them from ordering that. So if they have a collective, they can make one phone call. It's available. Most likely, we're going to have it unless it's, August. Gary, does your yarrow bloom in August?
No, it's barely staying alive.
Okay. He had yarrow in August. We need to get him back up here to talk about yarrow.
I'm pretty much dead in August.
Yeah. Okay. With all of us together, I bet you we could gather up 60 bunches of yarrow. High quality still, and the end product is still exactly what she's looking for her project. So y'all, I ran the numbers. I did a whole lot of math. There are 3 separate spreadsheets behind this graph. But they are really hard to look at. So I put them together like this. And it turns out it's gonna cost an extra, $140 for her to order from the collective than what she could get from the wholesaler. But she's getting the higher quality product, and she gets the opportunity to post that picture on her Instagram that says, I support local farmers. And that boost that does to her business is going to be worth that extra $150. And that is so I haven't figured out exactly how to do the collective or how the fee structure would work because there are so many options and it gets so confusing. And I wanted everybody's input before I really went too deep into that. But the parameters I put in for this are based on the customer paying 30% of their subtotal as a fee to the collective, and the farmer paying nothing. So the farmer would get 100% of their sale price, minus the credit card processing fee and such through the Rooted website.
So the florist pays a fee to join the collective, but we don't.
Y'all pay a fee to join the collective, and she pays a fee to join the collective. But then she also pays 30%-ish. That's just a number I made up. I don't know if it's the right number or not. These numbers are all, but I wanted to have something to give you guys so that you could kind of see it. So she would pay, a lot of collectives have where the farmer pays the commission. So it's like you're paying a commission to the collective. We'll sell the stuff for you, but we get 30% of your sales. Well, in this format, which I found, Kate, do you remember which collective it was that did it this way with the STEM tax thing? Okay. Anyway, it's, instead of us losing the 30% out of what we normally would sell it to them for, we're gonna charge that on top of it, and that money goes to the collective. And it still works out to where she's only paying $150 more because she only has to buy 60 bunches instead of 120.
That's what she pays for all that yarrow.
Mhm.
But she's paid to a joining fee, just like we've paid.
Yeah, so the other cost, the $220, that's got her joining fee calculated into it. So what I calculated it at was $100 for the year, and then I divided that up for a 35-week season. And so whatever 1/35 of $100 ended up being, it's in that $220.
I see.
And then the 30% of her subtotal is in that $220.
So that 30% would be to pay your employee that runs it?
Yes, that would go towards paying the administrator, the delivery costs. If we ended up having to hire a delivery driver, there are all sorts of situations, like we can all volunteer to be the driver 1 week to get it started, however it works out. Because I was gonna crunch the numbers on
I
that.
just think in my experience, you're gonna have a hard time getting a florist to pay $840 for 60 bunches instead of $960 for 120 bunches, even though I totally understand the waste thing.
Yeah.
But getting that across to the florist.
Well, it's not just the waste, it's also the quality. So like even the stuff that she's not throwing away, I don't have trouble with that. I don't know.
But is quality the same standards to each and every one of them is the same?
Consistent products is part of
Does
it.
it have to be 10-15% of thrown away after the collective gets it?
Rooted, the website has a training for the farmers after they have joined the collective. It will train you on what sort of quality is required to sell on the website.
The website is, I've got it in here.
Who's gonna be monitoring that, like, to make sure that the florists are actually getting the product that we all want them to get?
The administrator. So whoever it is that we hire
Whoever's hired is
to
making
manage
sure that it's,
would be in charge of, that question will be answered with when we talk about the website.
okay. And
Okay.
just one other question I had, are you taking into consideration, if we were to order from 5 different farms to get their number that they needed, you've also probably got 5 different delivery charges, so I don't know if you.
Yeah, if you'll look, that's why the delivery charge is the highest under individual farmers.
Yeah.
I have my computer if you want to look at the math.
No, I don't.
But, I mean,
I was
you know.
just wondering.
So are we delivering?
Something to consider.
So what it would be is, do y'all remember when I posted, everybody add your farm to this map and we'll see where we all are, but that's at the end of this presentation. But it turns out that like Conway is the middle of where all of us are. So except for maybe the Northwest people and there are outliers. There's a Mountain Home and then there's Mina. Sorry. You know, you guys are gonna have to drive a little smidge further. But centrally is where the customers are. There are also customers in Northwest, and we may end up doing like a Northwest chapter and a Central chapter. We just haven't worked out all the details because we wanted everybody's input to see if this really would work. Did that answer your question, Shannon? What was your question?
Oh, I was just gonna ask if
wasn't Shannon,
we
Sheena.
bring our flowers, to one central location.
Yes. So the farmer's responsibility would be to cut your flowers and bring them to the place. The website tells you what to cut. The website tells you what you've sold. It emails you a list. This is what you sold this week.
Okay.
Then you can take that to the location to be distributed and delivered. And we can work out to where, you know, we can bring a bunch of extra stuff and do a bucket run with the extra stuff if we want to, or.
So we've got a website that we're a member of. We looked at the collective and it says, need 60 bunches of yarrow this week. And we say, I've got it. And then before we cut it and take it, we're told, I want 30 of your bunches, right?
You don't even, it's not, there's a whole nother step in there.
Oh,
So
okay.
they'll order it, and then whatever they order, the website gives them an option. If they have a preferred farmer that they want to work with, they can click on that farmer to make sure that their stuff is coming from that grower. Otherwise, if they don't click on a preferred farmer, it just takes it from, I don't know how it figures it out. Whoever inputs it first, or whoever has the ability to fill that order completely, or I don't know how that does it. But it literally, the window's open for 4 or 5 days. They order what they want, and then you get a list that says, this is what you sold.
And then when it says this is what you sold, then I get it to the collective place at a certain time.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like I'm saying, dang, I got a lot of companion this week, and I take it to the collective, and then at the end of the thing, they go, sorry, none of it sold. That's not gonna happen.
Right.
Okay.
And we're taking it to the collective as some kind of group price that's been decided on?
So the website has a function where the hub manager, collective manager, can put in a price range. So individual farmers still have the say on what their price is. But it has to be within a range because we don't want too much of a variation. You know, I don't want to be selling yarrow for $16 and Gina's selling it for $9. That's not going to make us look like we, you know. It sort of takes the price competition part out of the whole concept. This is more people saying, oh, look, I buy local flowers, I'm so special.
Am I the only one whose florist keeps her the best kept secret?
Oh, yeah. You said your florists are not loyal, but I accidentally happened into one of your florists one day.
They don't brag.
They were like, oh no, we already buy from Kathy. And I'm like, oh, I know Kathy. She's They're like, yeah, we only buy from Kathy. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
And
Okay.
they keep me a secret too.
Yeah. So here's some of the logistics and the first anemones that I ever grew. So it's going to require a whole bunch of things. This list is not exclusive, but administration, the development of systems like, you know, how to harvest stuff, how to cut stuff, make sure that everything is consistent. Color-coded rubber bands or twisty ties on your bunches so that when we're sorting for deliveries, we know to make sure that this person delivered this, we got this, it's going to this person. A lot of coordinating and communicating and talking and those sorts of things. It's so complicated. I meant to delete that, but that's how I felt when I was making this. I was just like, how would this work? Oh my God, it's just so much. Okay, this is my farm administrator right here.
Love it.
He is not great at killing rabbits.
He is perfect.
He is super good at taking naps. Okay. So the manager of the collective would be a paid position, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be full-time at first, like I said, if we couldn't afford to hire somebody full-time, or we were afraid that it wouldn't work and we wouldn't be able to. If we want to take it slowly, we could do some group volunteering to, you know, sort of help run stuff, and just hire a manager part-time to just do the management part. They would be in charge of customer service, so fielding questions. If the hiccups fell. Oh, okay. Marketing, bookkeeping, analyzing the business, seeing what's selling and what's not selling, what's working, is it worth it to us to drive to this florist still? Maintaining the Rooted website, or if we decided to have a separate collective website that just had information about our collective also. They'd be in charge of communication with buyers and with sellers, and maybe even planning some like seasonal events like this event. Or if we all wanted to get together and do like a big workshop down in the river market, or, you know, it just things that you can't do without a lot of volume. So membership fees and member responsibilities. Grower members would be responsible for making sure that what they had available to sell that week was uploaded onto the site. Everybody has their own individual site, and then there's a hub site. The hub site is what the customers see, and the individual sites are what we would use. Yeah. I mean, I don't have access to it because you have to pay for it before you can see it. But I do have my own individual site, so I have seen a little bit, but not a lot. So growers upload their availability, and then they get their sold product to the collective. That's your responsibility. There'd be an annual membership fee, and then possibly a % of your sales would go to the collective, unless we did it that other way, that model that I was showing you before, which, you know, you play with numbers and figure out what your customer base will bend to and what they won't bend to. Because, like, I mean, Shannon's got a good point. She's got florists that won't pay what she's charging, why would they pay 30% more than what she's charging? And it may include volunteer time. Buyer members would also have an annual membership fee, and then a possible % purchase of their subtotal added on to the end. Does that make sense? Oh, good. Am I doing okay? Am I good, Erin? Okay. Erin's my cheerleader. She used to be my boss, and now I'm her boss. It's great. Okay. When I fell off a ladder, she did the workers' comp paperwork. Okay, so consistency is really, really important to a collective. I'm sorry, Kathy. But you have to do, they got to be able to rely on you. They've got to know that you're going to be there that day. Christine knows, because if they expect your van full of flowers to show up, your van full of flowers had better show up. So this is sort of a sample schedule. This is the one that's given by the Rooted website. It's a 2-week calendar. It's split up into responsibilities by participant. So on Wednesday, a grower will be updating their availability for the week while simultaneously delivering their product to the market for placed orders from the week prior. I don't like that one. Sorry, I didn't read this first. It's very hard to tell what you're going to have next week. It's easier to tell what you're going to have, you know, in a couple of days. This is a better one. On Thursday, the farmers would update the collective or upload their availability onto the Rooted website. In this particular example, the manager is in charge of updating the website completely. Then on Thursday at 9 p.m., the online shopping and pre-ordering opens for the customers. It becomes available. They can shop. On Monday, the shopping closes, so that's 4 days, because Thursday at 9 p.m. that didn't count. The manager lets each farm know what they sold for the website. We'll do that. And the farmers start harvesting what was sold. On Tuesday, the farmers continue harvesting. They pack up their sold products, any extras they want to bring to the open market. On Wednesday, they deliver to the collective in the morning. The customers pick up their orders. And then this particular collective has like an open shop market where when the customer comes to pick up their orders, they can shop through the extra stuff that the farmers have brought. Like, I had a lot of Campanula this week. You know, who wants it? That's why I'm telling you it's complicated. There are 150 different ways to do this. And we can come up with our own way too.
Yeah, because what happens to the extra that doesn't sell? Who's responsible for?
Well, the collective manager, or whoever is volunteering their time to like put orders together and organize, or if we have somebody hired to do that. There are 3 options that most of these places do. They'll either dry it, and then the collective has some dried inventory that the collective itself can sell to make profit. Or the farmer is welcome to come pick up stuff that doesn't sell that they can use in, you know, their market bouquets for that weekend or whatever. Or the collective volunteers will just compost it. Like, if it's not worth it to you to come pick it up, yeah.
But you don't have to take, a lot of it's pre-sold.
Right.
There are other collectives who open it up to the public as
There-
well to come in.
That's another one. After all the wholesale customers have shopped, they'll say, hey, general public from, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
So if on Thursday, I say, I predict I'm gonna have 100 bunches of zinnias, and so I send that to the manager, and it gets listed. Then on Saturday, one of my regular clients comes and wants those 100 bunches.
You can take it down.
Okay. But not if it's already sold, right?
Right. If it's already sold, it's already sold.
Exactly.
But if that
There's a way
happens,
there's a way for us to live see if we've sold it.
yes.
Yeah.
If that happened, there would be 100 bunches of zinnias between the rest of us for whoever it was that was,
Good.
you know what I mean? So then your customer could still have it, and the people that were buying it online, they just wouldn't be able to get it from you necessarily,
Right.
but they could get it from somebody else. That's that.
Either way, yours would be sold.
Yeah,
Right.
yours is sold either way, so good job.
Which is the most important part.
Yeah.
That's the aim.
Okay, so this is the part about the website, and that's their little slogan, built by flower farmers for flower farmers. They do have other types of farmers on there now, but it was originally intended, and it is built specifically for, they have a huge library of stuff, y'all. You just click on it, and it lists it. Oh, it's lovely. Okay, so easy inventory management. Customize, do y'all have a question? What are your questions about the website? Y'all have a question? Crickets, okay.
With the collective, is it one fee for the collective? So if it's $500, everybody in this collective puts in $500 to pay Rooted.
That is a good question.
Everybody pays $100 each to Rooted.
And it took me a long time to find the answer to that question, but I got it. Everybody has to have their own Rooted account. And then the collective has to have an account also. So, the cost per grower is $165 for the basic plan or $360 for the pro plan. And the difference is the pro plan includes analytics and there's like a price ranging tool so you can make sure your prices are in the range of like other things in your area. There's not a lot in our area. If it were, just be comparing it to each other, which we already know that ours would be in a range anyway. But if you're a member of a collective, you get $100 off of that fee. So if you just went with the essential, I just want to upload my stuff and be done with it. It's $65 for the year.
Who sees this stuff, I'm sorry, in this rooted farmer, if you just do the grower one, who sees the stuff initially? If you're not part of a collective,
Just you.
just me, okay. Just
You
a
can
little
say,
track.
you can assign times for when your shop would open. It's kind of like Etsy is what it works. Works like Etsy, but for farms. Did that answer, was that your question?
Yes, yeah, that,
Okay.
thank you.
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand it. I think it's the same question she's asking, but so, okay, so I decide I wanna join the rooted farmer thing.
Mhm.
And so I'm say I'm not a collective member, so I pay $165.
Mhm.
I upload my flowers to this,
Mhm.
whole United States thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And then people who are florists who are members might see it and would say, I want this, and then what happens? They come pick it up from me wherever my shop
You
is?
can arrange pickups or deliveries.
Okay.
You can customize your page to do it however you want.
But if we have a collective, which is $700 a year plus blah, 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 that means we've pooled all our money to do that. All together we've come up with 700, plus then we pay 100.
Plus then we each have to pay the 65.
Yeah, 65.
Yeah.
Okay.
The $700 a year, how did you come up with that number and what is that paying your administrator?
The $700 a year is the price to have a collective website on Rooted.
Oh, that's just for the website, so we haven't covered administrator costs at all.
Oh no, I don't know the numbers on that. I mean, like, that's something we're gonna have to figure out. I didn't want to like spend more than the 2 months that I spent getting this far to figure that out without like making sure that you guys really were interested and that this was something that we really could do and that it would really work and it would help us all. Like, I want to make sure that y'all are on board before I go through and like figure out, okay, well, this is going to cost this much money and we need this much insurance and we're going to have to spend this much on gas per year and, you know, like make a budget. I haven't done that yet.
I think you have to narrow it down to like the growers that can even possibly afford it, plus the growers that don't sell meat. I mean, it's all pretty much wholesale based.
There
Or
are
even
ways.
retail growers don't
There
have
are
it.
ways to do retail on here too, and we could eventually get the collective to go through. I'm looking at it from a wholesale perspective because that's how I grow.
Right.
So like, that's another place where I would need input. I don't really know the retail side of the business very well at all. But it can be set up to do retail through the website, or we don't even have to use the website. And then,
Kristen, can I just mention something? The flower farmers in Northwest Arkansas, there are many of them who want a collective. And we are going to create one in Northwest Arkansas. What we're trying to figure out is, do we wanna do this statewide?
Do florists already use this website?
this would have to be marketed to your customers. So this is something that the collective administrator or you or both would have to go to your customers and say, hey, we're using this website. It is going to be way more efficient for us and way more efficient for you. And this is how I'm going to be selling my flowers now. And to them, it's just like ordering flowers online. It looks just like you're buying something on Amazon. And then those fees down at the bottom, the 7.9% and the 5%, that applies to whatever sale, not just for collectives. So if you're selling it as a single grower, you would pay that fee on every transaction also. Does that make sense? So like y'all go to this website. It's rootedfarmers.com. Look at it. See what you think. Okay, back to the yarrow. Real quick. Last year I had an average of about 40 bunches of yarrow every week available. I had standing orders for 32 bunches. If I'd had a bigger customer base, I could have sold all 40 bunches plus more, right? If if I had grown more. I don't have time to deliver to a larger customer base. I don't even have the time to deliver to the customer base that I have. 32 bunches, if I sold it for $16 for 20 stems, which matches what the wholesaler sells it for. They sell 10 stems for $8, so it's the same price. So 32 bunches is $512 if I sold it for $16. If I sold it for $2 less through a collective, I could sell all 40 bunches and make the same amount of money, even when you include the percentage fee that I'd have to pay to the website for processing the credit card. I don't know enough about other people's businesses to put the numbers together.
And that's including those extra fees that you just.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, in wholesale you don't have to worry about sales tax. So like, I went down in price, so now my price is lower than a wholesaler. I'm still making the same amount of money. And the reason that I went down in price is so that we could charge the florist that 30%, so that we wouldn't have to pay it.
So do y'all feel confident in Fayetteville where you're set on this already, that you're gonna have the florist? I mean, enough florist participation to sell everybody's flowers? Because that's based on selling all your bunches. Do you feel confident that, I mean, how many members are you looking at having, you know?
How many farms or
How many members, that are growers?
We have at least 5 farms who wanna do this so far. We're unsure about the florists yet, but because these 5 farms we mainly sell to florists. They're still gonna come to us just through the collective. And they're just gonna go to one website instead of trying to call around to all of us to find what they need.
We have florists on board in Central Arkansas. I've talked to my customers. I've talked to some event designers that I don't go to regularly because I can't provide them the quantity of something that they need. They're very excited to have access to local product. They're very excited. They think it's worth the money. You work a lot with Hannah at Pedal to the Metal.
I do.
Yeah, I've talked to her about it. She loves it. The florists are excited. I'm excited. I'm very
I
excited.
think it's got possibilities.
Yeah.
I have a lot of, I think the more people you get in it, I think you could, at least in my experience, I know that you would be able to compete better with like Southern wholesale through this. So that you might make that up, but, I have a hard time selling what I have at Forest. Especially in July.
But what are the issues that your florists are giving you? Like,
My florists have slowed down.
mm-hmm.
The florists don't have a lot of business in July.
And that is, that's a very good point. That is something that we would have to analyze and look at. Erin?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when we were discussing this and based on what I knew y'all discussed, you don't have to put all of your flowers on that. If you have another outlet, if your beautiful charcuterie boards and your, what you were doing, that event, you say that for that. If you're already doing, the lady who was doing for the, dance, yes, you still do that. So you still have your other outlets. It's the outlet for what you are not selling. It's the outlet for what you're struggling with. You're gaining a larger market for those excess flowers that are beautiful, that are growing, and you need to find them a home, and you know people want them. Because every one of y'all who have talked today, you can't grow enough, you can't grow enough. I've heard that from several of you today. So, it's those extras. They're not saying put your whole farm on this website.
Yeah.
They're saying you got something extra, you wanna make some extra money. The cost mentioned, $700 a year, because the florists are gonna pay to be a part of this. We
So
can
you
do a
get-
market analysis, a market study to say what's gonna be a fair price, what's gonna make them want to jump in on this. First, you're cutting down on how many people they're talking to a week. So they were spending how many times with 5 different florists coming in their back door, this is what I have, oh, okay, you know, they're pulling away, they're doing this, now they've got a one-stop shop. So that's affordable right there, and then all the other things. So you make it an affordable price to get them on board, because you start somewhere. You have a huge pumpkin, I mean, you could probably add so much information and guidance to this, because you're already doing something similar with pumpkins. You're spreading them out all over the state, you're supplying several different people. So, the cost for the website would be in from what the florist paying. So that $700, you wouldn't be paying for that. That would come from the florist, because they have to pay to go to this website. They pay to go to a lot of websites. If it's worth it, they'll pay for it. Then the $60 a year for you, that is a little bit. And then if we can figure out the pricing, would there be a percent off the top to help the collective stay afloat, to do branding, do marketing? Maybe, or could we find a price that fits for a STEM tax, so that more is not coming out of your pocket, and nothing comes out of your pocket, all you do is grow. But that is where we need the feedback and, you know, what somebody willing to do. And a collective may not be for everybody. You see a lot of collectives started with a larger farm teaching and growing smaller farms. That's how they start. So maybe it's not for everybody in this room, but everybody in this room still gets to benefit from the education, still gets to benefit from the community. But the smaller growers, the people who are kind of off in a state, like Kristen feels isolated, it gives her a larger market. It gives her more to grow her business, more to sell. So maybe it's perfect for her, but you know, anyone else, they're like, well, it's not gonna work for me. But it doesn't cut you off from the education and community.
Well, the market share is what, I mean, that's what does it. When you have, if you can't sell everything you're growing, you don't have enough customers, or you don't have the right customers. This gives you access to more customers. I can't sell to event florists. I have a lot of trouble with that. I sell a tiny bit to Sonera, but it's like sporadic, maybe 3 or 4 times a summer, right? I sell to daily florists, people that do daily stuff. If we could break into an event market, if we had enough volume to be able to break into that market, that opens up a whole nother can of worms.
I find this very appealing. When you look at the business end of it, and when I think about what I lost last year in terms of all the things that I grew, that maybe I would grow certain things anymore, maybe I can really kind of hone in on, you know, if we were to do something like this, yes, I would still retain my specialty kind of bouquets, I would still retain my subscriptions, that I'm going to have to grow certain things, but then when I'm not utilizing those for those purposes, to be able to offload that somewhere is amazing. I also think about what I spend on my website, in my domain name, and just all those little ancillary things where I can easily pay for the subscription for this and offload some of those other costs that maybe I'm not gonna pump into, like Instagram ads or Facebook ads. Like, it is very much this mentality of work smarter.
Yeah.
Work smarter.
Smarter, not harder. Yeah.
And I love that. Like, I just, that is an approach that resonates.
I love the idea that I don't have to sell my flowers. It does it for me.
It does it for you.
I suck at selling. I hate the administrative part of it, and if I can pay somebody else to do it for me, I'm on board, 100%.
I like the retail aspect of it too, if whatever's left over. I mean, I'm just thinking about our market,
I know 100 people off the top of my head who would go to one place and buy retail flowers, not at a farmer's market.
The website also has a point of sale system built into it, like a cash register, that you can just do people like at the market. So, I mean, that's all integrated into it. It's
I didn't even think about that, like, there's a place in Fort Worth, a bakery that has like a lot of, kind of shops and restaurants and stuff like that. It's kind of become like the it place in downtown to go to for stuff. But I feel like places like that would sell, you know, things like this. They would almost kind of want to brand as like, you know, local flowers or, you know, Arkansas grown flowers, but they're not going to go to the trouble of trying to get something kind of like set up as pop-ups. But if they could have it streamlined, where as part of their business, they're integrating like fresh local flowers, that increases their foot traffic. I mean, it really has so much more impact potentially than just florists, which is very appealing.
and not only that, but it gives us one brand to go under. Say we wanted to get a big like spread in Arkansas Bride and be like, you know, tell your wedding designer that you want to use local flowers in your wedding. I want to do that so badly, but I can't do that because I don't have the volume. I only have like a half an acre that I grow on. So